Rovac just released its Q4 report, and I'm here with CEO Anders Månsson and Steffen Wad Jørgensen, Rovac's new Chief Development Officer. What would you say, Anders, are the key attributes of the report?
Well, if we start with a full year perspective, I think it's fair to say that 2019 was a transformative year for Rovac. It was the year when we started implementing our strategy to take our chief asset RV001 through phase 2B, which we are convinced will have a very beneficial risk return ratio. We also succeeded last summer in securing the funding to do this. We secured funding for about 3 years counting from last summer. That was partly through the rights issue, but it was also from winning the Horizon 2020 grant, which on top of the money also added external validation for our project. Furthermore, we started in the second half of the year the phase 2B study, and we started also a more structured approach towards the partnering process. And then if we focus on the key events of the last quarter, well, obviously, since we started the phase 2B, we saw the first patients being screened for this study, and this is, of course, very rewarding for us to see all the planning work coming to fruition like that. We also received the first payments from Horizon 2020 and also received some tax credits. So if you look into the financials of the report, you will see that our burn rate is significantly lower in the fourth quarter than it was in the third quarter. This is in no way due to activities being brought to a halt. Activities are running full steam indeed, but it's offset by the income mainly from Horizon 2020. Then a major thing that happened in the last quarter was the publication of the ROSE review article that we have talked about in the past. That was really a major thing for us because that really puts ROSE on the map for a lot of companies. So in that article, ROSE is confirmed as being absolutely indispensable for metastases. And it also implicates ROSE in cancer stem cells and in the development of cancer or therapy-resistant cancer. And this is obviously very good for us because the article actually calls out for therapy directed at ROSE specifically. And here we are in the lead in that area. So we are obviously the only company in the world that has a development asset in clinical phase, which is directed specifically at ROSE. And then finally, perhaps I would be remiss if I didn't mention that we also recruited Steffen, standing here on my left, and he will be the new Chief Development Officer in Rovac, as you said.
Speaking of the phase 2B study, Steffen, could you give us the latest update of the trial?
Yeah, we are progressing nicely. We had a few more countries coming in recently, and the additional countries will come hereafter, meaning that all sites will hopefully be able to recruit by May this year, giving us confidence that all patients will be recruited in September this year.
You have previously also suggested that you will do explorative studies. Can you give us an update on the status there?
Yeah, our vaccine is not prostate specific. We believe, and we have reason to believe, that we have data that can show that this vaccine also works in other cancer forms or types of cancers, meaning that we will try to make more data sustaining and underpin this use of our vaccine. So that could be done preclinical in good models, animal models, but also in clinical studies. We still are in the phase of planning how to do it in the best way.
What other plans do you have for 2020?
It's clear that the phase 2B study in prostate cancer, that has top priority for us, because after all, that is the study that will deliver the bulk of the evidence in terms of pinpointing the efficacy of RV001 in cancer. It will be in prostate cancer, and that's where we'll have the bulk of the evidence. But of course, yes, as Steffen alluded to, we will complement the indicative evidence that we have that our product can actually help also in other cancers. And of course, there will be also a continued focus on the partnering process. We have agreed on a long list of potential partners, and by this summer, I will have had interactions with all of these companies on the long list. And the purpose of that is really to try to eliminate those companies that are not willing to do this deal that we intend to do for principal reasons. Perhaps this area is not a part of their strategy or for some other reason. When this is done, we will take the next step, and then we will get a little bit closer to where we want to go. We will discuss a possible deal framework, and this will be based on our target profile of the drug. So we're pushing things and advancing things step by step. And yes, as previously communicated, this process could also take us to a situation whereby we could potentially do an option deal, whereby a company would pay a small upfront payment in order to be able to buy or license our project at a pre-arranged price. It's not a given to me that we would want to execute on such a deal, because obviously that would tie us very much into just having one selected partner. And it would also be on a pre-arranged price. So if the data comes out very good, we might have second thoughts about that. So that is something that we would consider carefully. It could be a possibility, but it's not something that's a given if we are given the opportunity. However, in summary, I think we're in for exciting times in Rovac. We're now like 1.5 years away from having the pivotal phase 2b data in prostate cancer, and that will determine our success going forward.
Thank you both for coming here, and we look forward to following Rovac in 2020. Thank you.
Thank you.